Okay, so we're nearly there. We're on the home stretch. Okay, so I probably should have put this in the last video, but I felt like it was getting too long. So, these are the kinds of things, if you're like, I don't really know what to compare, these are the kinds of things that I would recommend that you compare in your paragraphs. You could compare contentions. Maybe one agrees with something that the other one disagrees with, or vice versa. Tones, maybe they say one of them, maybe they both have the same, contention or perspective on the argument, but they say it in very different ways. You could discuss that. You could discuss their perspective on the argument or the idea. You could discuss the differences in audience or relationship to the issue. You could discuss word use. You could discuss the depth of the issue. Maybe, one of them goes in really deep detail on the argument, and then maybe one of them just kind of like briefly mentions it. Or maybe even the types of persuasive pulls being used. That could be something that you want to compare. So pretty much anything you write about, you can compare it. All right, moving on. Conclusions. Okay, this is the easiest bit. Okay. Titles, authors, and then summarize the similarities and differences of the articles in regards to things like their contention, their arguments, their tone, the type of information they use, the type of pulls they use, and the type of audiences. So any of those things. You don't need all of them. Keep it fairly brief. Okay? So that's what you put in it. Pretty stock standard conclusion. All right. Last but certainly not least, it is really, really important that you proofread. I would say out of all the pieces that you write, this one would be the most likely to stuff you up in terms of your language flow and stuff like that. The reason for that is because it's a really technical type of writing. So I cannot plead with you more. Please proofread aloud. Just quietly to yourself, just muttering like a crazy person, like me most of the time. If you've ever watched me actually teaching, you'll have noticed that while I'm writing on the board, I'm always talking aloud to myself. I'm saying each word as I write it. The reason I do that is because I find that when I'm writing, my brain moves faster than my hand does, and so I often find that I skip over words because I'm already thinking about the next thing I want to talk about. So what I try to do to keep my head in the game is say each word as I write it. And what I actually find that does as well is stop me from overusing certain words, or I can hear when it's starting to sound a bit icky. So it does do almost like a preliminary proofread while I do it, and thus I write better. Not perfect, but I write better. But I still need to do that proofread at the end where I proofread aloud to myself. And actually, truth be told, I didn't have time to do it today when I made this, when I did those examples, when I was writing those up today, because I'm really tired and we're running out of time, and I needed to get this video out tonight. So didn't really get time to do it. But that being said, I would definitely tell you that you need to, because if I need to, with all my experience of writing these things, you probably need to. The biggest thing that you need to look for in this sack is long sentences, these crazy, crazy long sentences. And you might have noticed, because I didn't proofread mine, some of my sentences were way too long. I would say a rule of thumb in terms of sentence length, because people go, well, how long should a sentence be? I would say a good measure is if you're getting to 3.5 lines, and you haven't used any sort of punctuation, I would be trying to finish that sentence quick smart. And I would say anything more than, say, 4 lines without a full stop is probably too long, and you need to go back and find some places that you would need some punctuation. And when you read aloud, what you'll discover is that you are naturally doing it anyway. So look for the bits when you pause and take a breath. That's where you need a full stop. If you just have this slight little pause, then maybe you just need a comma. But what you'll probably find is that you'll need many more full stops than you do commas. And my advice to you is, if you go to put a comma, double check whether you could put a full stop. If you can put a full stop, do. The reason we like short sentences is that they're very easy to digest. They're very easy to swallow. Very long sentences take a lot to digest as a reader. So they're more hard work, which therefore kind of detracts from what you're actually saying. So short, sharp sentences are the way to go. So I think this is about it. Hopefully this has been helpful. I know it has been a bit of a saga to get it together, and certainly the constant harassing from my office manual was not helping. But hopefully this can be of use. All right. Well, I'll see you in class.